God made you lonely.
There is a kind of silence that feels heavier than noise. The kind of silence that appears when the people you once loved slowly disappear from your life. Friends stop calling. Messages remain unanswered. The house feels larger than before. And sometimes, in those quiet moments, a question rises inside your heart. God, why am I alone? Loneliness often feels like rejection. It feels like something has been taken away from us. But what if loneliness is not something being taken away? What if it is space being created? Space for something new. Space for a different purpose. This is the story of a woman named Elena and how the quietest seasons of her life became the most meaningful ones. Elena lived in a small coastal town where the ocean never stopped speaking. The waves rolled in day and night, like a gentle reminder that time never stands still. Her house sat near the edge of the town, where the streets became quiet and the wind carried the scent of salt and sea. It was not a large house, just a small wooden place with a garden behind it. But Elena loved it because it was filled with memories. Years ago, the house had been full of laughter. Her husband, Marco, used to whistle while fixing fishing nets outside. Their daughter, Sophia, ran through the garden chasing butterflies. Dinner time was always loud. Stories, jokes, simple happiness. Elena never asked life for more than that. And every night before sleeping, she whispered a quiet prayer. Thank you, God, for giving me enough. Not wealth, not luxury, just enough love to feel whole. But life does not ask permission before it changes. One autumn, Marco became sick. At first it seemed small, just fatigue, a cough that wouldn't go away. But slowly the sickness grew stronger, and Marco grew weaker. Elena stayed beside him every night, holding his hand, reading prayers softly. Sometimes she asked God to heal him. Other times, she only asked God to stay close. Then one morning, before the sun had fully risen, Marco was gone. The house became unbearably quiet. For the first time in many years, Elena felt the weight of loneliness. Not the kind that comes and goes, but the kind that stays. She sat at the kitchen table where they once shared meals, her hands covering her face. God, why did you take him? No answer came, only silence. But that silence was not empty. Elena would understand that much later. After Marco's death, life moved slower. The garden grew quieter. Meals became smaller. Even the ocean sounded different. Her daughter Sophia eventually moved to a distant city for work. At first, she called often, then less. Then, sometimes months passed between conversations. The house that once held 3 voices now held only one. Elena learned the sounds of loneliness, the ticking clock, the wind at night, the distant waves against the shore. Some evenings she sat by the window watching the sunset alone, and sometimes she asked God quietly, "Is this what the rest of my life will be?" But every morning she still woke before sunrise. She washed her face, lit a small candle near the window, and prayed, not for her loneliness to disappear, but for something else. She prayed, "God, Please let me still be useful." So Elena continued living her simple days. She worked in her small garden, tomatoes, herbs, a few flowers. She cooked small meals. She walked to the town market every week. And something strange began to happen. People slowly started appearing at her door. Not many, just a few. An old fisherman whose wife had passed away. A young mother overwhelmed with raising her child. A teenage boy who often felt angry at the world. They didn't come for advice. They came because Elena listened, truly listened. She never hurried them. She never judged them. She simply poured tea, sat quietly, and let them speak. Word slowly spread through the town. If you need someone who understands, visit Elena. Elena never planned this. She never tried to become anything special. She simply offered the only thing she still had: time, kindness, and a quiet heart. One summer afternoon, Sophia returned home to visit. She walked into the house and saw strangers sitting at the table drinking tea with her mother. She was confused. "Mom, why are these people here?" Elena smiled softly. They needed someone to listen. Later that evening, Sophia asked another question. "Mom, don't you feel lonely living like this?" Elena paused for a moment. Then she said something Sophia did not expect. "I used to think loneliness meant something was missing, but now I think loneliness is sometimes God making room." Sophia didn't understand. To her, loneliness meant failure. It meant being forgotten. But Elena had begun to see something deeper. Years passed. Elena's hair turned silver. Her steps grew slower. But the people who visited her house grew more numerous. Neighbors, travelers, young couples, old friends. Even children began stopping by after school to hear her stories. They called her Grandma Elena, even though many were not related to her. One winter, Elena became very ill. She could not leave her bed. For the first time in many years, the house was quiet again. But this time, something unexpected happened. People came from everywhere. Neighbors brought food. Young men repaired the roof. Children sat beside her bed reading stories. And Sophia, who had once believed her mother was lonely, finally saw the truth. Her mother had never been alone. She had simply been prepared. Prepared to become someone others could lean on. Prepared to become light in quiet places. When Elena recovered, Sophia asked her a question. "Mom, were you ever angry at God for making you lonely?" Elena smiled. "No, because God never removed love from my life. He only moved it." She looked around the room filled with people who cared about her. The love just found new places to live. Many years later, when Elena peacefully passed away, the small coastal town gathered together. Fishermen, teachers, children, travelers, people who had once felt lost. They all came, not because Elena was famous, not because she was rich, but because in her quiet years, she had become something rare, a heart that made others feel less alone. And Sophia finally understood what her mother meant. Loneliness had never been punishment. It had been preparation. And maybe this is the message meant for you. If people are slowly leaving your life, if your days feel quieter than before, if loneliness sits beside you more often than you wish, do not assume you are being abandoned. Sometimes God removes the noise of the world so your heart can hear more clearly. Sometimes He removes certain people so your heart can grow wider. And sometimes the lonely seasons of your life are simply preparation to become light for someone else who is still walking through darkness. Because love given through God never disappears. It only finds new places to live. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Sometimes the quietest stories carry the loudest truths. And maybe someone out there needs this message tonight.